Let's talk about challenges
Yeah.
Gen Zs are facing right now. What are some of those challenges? And even as you talk about that, connect that to parenting, because parents are struggling with bringing up this Gen Zs.
I think a bigger part, just balancing that a bit, is they're afraid. Fear is one of the biggest motivator and challenge when it comes to parenting, because they have never seen this breed before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're seeing something new. And again, like I earlier started by saying, the mistake that sometimes we do is thinking that people are living our experiences. But the times are different, the seasons are different, they are very different. The circumstances might be more or less the same, but we have to acknowledge that the times are very different. The challenges that we used to have, basically they might be upgraded challenges that they're kind of facing. They might seem similar, but the addressing might not be the similar way. So part of the challenges, for us, something like mental health is not something that you had for the millennials and the Xers. So if anything, if you said like, I think I have a problem mentally, you'll be taken to the nearest doctor very fast. Or it's not something that will be given attention so much at the same time. So, but also we kind of also notice, like, when mental health facilities have increased, even in the city, there used to be one that was well known, Mathare.
Mathare, yeah.
But now a number of them, you're wondering, even in hospitals, you find there are spaces for mental health. So that means that has been one of the challenges that is facing this generation. And that's why you can see from nowhere somebody just posting on TikTok. The girl was dancing. I think there's a video of one girl that was dancing the other day, and it jumped on top of the building. So it was very sad. What was he struggling? What was she struggling with? It's mentally. It's not something that you can see, because physically you can see the thing is the guy is good. They are laughing and all that. So as much as they are the most authentic generation, authentic in the sense of they won't sugarcoat things, but at the same time they are the most lost in the sense of in their own space. They are lost in their challenges, in their struggles, and the whole idea of all coming out is just creating a space where all of them, they can really find a place to connect with each other. Parents, they didn't grow in the experience that these guys are growing in. So the biggest challenge for parents is adapting into a technological phase of young people, knowing how to balance between the two and how they can fully engage them in that particular space.
Times are changing. Times are really changing.
Times are changing.
So we need to embrace generations. Now, Gen Zs and careers. Gone are the days when we were growing up, Izazi angesema, I want you to be a doctor. Enda shule fanya medicine. That is what I want you to do. Right now, people know their rights. People know what they want to do in life. And when you look at social media, people are even making money out of social media, because there are jobs out there, even on social media. People are doing YouTube. YouTube is paying very well. Let's talk about Gen Z and careers. And do they have the capacity? Because I've heard of people complain at workplaces, these young people don't have the capacity to handle certain situations in the offices. Mnakasirishwa kidogo, me, I'm done in this job. I don't want. So let's talk about careers. Yeah.
So that's a really good one. And I think also in the highlights, when you are saying who Gen Zs are, is there are two also things that kind of describe them. One, they are mobile, and they're the most global generation ever. Gen Zs, and the other, I'll say now and then, and the next generation, and the other upcoming and emerging generations. So mobile in the sense of it's hard for them to be in one space.
That is true. That is very true.
of course, there's the demands of life. Part of that research that we did, one of the biggest challenges that was affecting young people is unemployment and poverty, mostly in this part of Africa, not in other, because the research was global. But in Africa alone, a bigger thing, one of the biggest challenges is unemployment and poverty. So part of their mobility came from the fact that you can't do one thing. You have to do so many other things for you to survive. So you'll find them selling shoes online, but at the same time, they have a master's degree, or rather they have a degree in something. They're in school, but they have to get money to do 1 or 3 or 4 things. So that can also kind of stretch them. Right now, also in the digital and the creative industry, when it's packed up, a lot of young people are in that particular space. And I think they are the biggest beneficiaries of online content. We know some of these things that we are getting online. But I think also that opened up an alternative for them. So concentrated in one particular space, even employers are more or less kind of complaining, just what you've mentioned about Gen Zs. It's not that they don't have capacities, only that they have an alternative. And that's a good thing, but also it's a bad thing when it means building career. Because if you set yourself on something, you have to pay the time, you have to be there, you have to do the work, you have to lean in. So interviews, you can see somebody has been in 6 spaces in 6 years. You are like, okay, you started as a financier, now you are a secretary, then you're a digital creator, now you are, so the guy is wondering, okay, so chances is even if I hire you, next year you won't be.
Yes.
And what organizations are looking for is longevity, you know? So there's that reality that is there. The reality of, even you as an employer, you won't invest in somebody who's there for a short term. So there's also that versatility, but the alternative they have, it's working for them in one way or the other, but also just setting their priorities right in the same spaces. But that's why I still go back to the original. I think also we'll touch on that. It's like, that's why there's a need for guidance for this particular, a different kind of guidance for this particular breed of people that are coming up, just giving them the advice and the assurance that, you know what, if you stay the time and you pay the price, the preparation will always matter, even as you get into these particular spaces. There's a guy I love mentioning, he's a friend. I mentioned to her that I'll always share this example. She got, he got an offer, and during an interview, not even an offer, a job interview, it was slotted the same time his gym appointment is. So if it was me and you, gym, my friend, I'm just happy that I even got the interview. So I have to be there 1 hour earlier. But the guy was there, finding balance. Where should I go for the interview or should I go for the gym appointment? So it's crazy. And I was just looking at the guy and I was like, you mean that's a whole problem? That's a whole problem for you. It's a dilemma. You're wondering if you're supposed to be at the job interview or go to there. But that's how do we allow them and create space for us to engage them to know where the priorities are supposed to lie and what they're supposed to choose at the earlier onset, just instilling those particular values. But yeah, that's a whole, I don't know how that looks like how it look like eventually. I don't know if there's flexibility, because of course, even some of them, when you hire them, for us in the past, we have been asked by an interviewer, do you have any questions about the job? Yes. You're just smiling. You're just happy that at least I have something to do. No question. Hey, I'm ready to report. But these guys, they're like, do you have any question? Like, okay, number one, when are we working until Saturdays, Is it a must for me to come into the office on Monday and Tuesday because there's this gig I have and all that? Yeah, so, but also comes from their openness. So they won't easily be oppressed as the other generations. We've had boomers and Xers who are in employment for more than 25 years, you know, more than 30, even some retired at 60. They have been in employment for 50 years, but once they come out, they can't show what they worked for. Because they were working from hand to mouth. So their versatility and of course the multiple spaces that they're in for the young people, it's kind of paying them. It's paying them first. There's a negative aspect to it, but it's kind of creating a space where they won't be dependent on one person. They are huge on investment. I just shared that there's the guy that is teaching us forex exchange and trade right now is a very young person. The guy earns almost more than 150,000 a week. So their entrepreneurial spirit is up there. You know, anything that thinks and makes money because they have suffered. You know, that's where they coined the word soft life. They want to live, a soft life, but also there's a disadvantage of that at some point. But again, it all goes back to the remedy, the values that you share, because all these places are very, very, very honest and open. I had also a conversation again of a guy that I can share fully. His technological endowment when he was young, the investment that people made on him, and being in that particular space, he ended up coming up with a program that gave employment to almost more than 5,400 young people through the government. So the guy is very young and he's very endowed, but he's very rich. But at the same time, he has a very good support mentorship system. And he was sharing in church, so he can't deviate outside. So that makes it even much, much easier. It's a well-known thing. I've not asked for the permission to mention it. But yes, that was an amazing story that I heard from. But at some point, if he was not held, because it was almost sinking into addiction, alcoholism and all that. But he went back, bounced back through support system and mentorship. And there were some things that were shared in his life that he felt, this is what I can do with what I have right now. And he's addressing the likes of president right now and all that. Yeah. So it's a balance, it's a dance. Honestly, I don't know if employers will be flexible enough just to accommodate this particular space, because that means that's where we are heading, working 2 or 3, because they are very honest. The other day somebody was telling me, if your employer is not paying you well, use his internet to get a better job. So for them, other than saying you hide in the office and use his internet and all that, just tell the employer, this job is not paying me the life that, is there a way we can balance? This is what I do on the side. And in case even you get business for me, so they are very open, apart from all the other generations that they were hiding, doing their own things on the internet. When you know very well that you do your job in 2 hours. Yeah. So basically it's just that space that they're in right now.
The other day, someone posted on social media and he said, young people are really making a lot of money, and he's wondering how. Somebody is 21 years and he's done a lot. He's making a lot of money, and I think that explains it.
The arts, it's pay.
Yes. Let's talk about challenges Gen Zs are facing. Right now, what are some of those challenges? And even as you talk about that, connect that to parenting, because parents are struggling with bringing up this Gen Zs.
I think a bigger part, just balancing that a bit, is they're afraid. Fear is one of the biggest motivator and challenge when it comes to parenting, because they have never seen this breed before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're seeing something new. And again, like I earlier started by saying, the mistake that sometimes we do is thinking that people are living our experiences. But the times are different, the seasons are different, they are very different. The circumstances might be more or less the same, but we have to acknowledge that the times are very different. The challenges that we used to have, basically they might be upgraded challenges that they're kind of facing. They might seem similar, but the addressing might not be the similar way. So part of the challenges, for us, something like mental health is not something that you had for the millennials and the Xers. So if anything, if you said like, I think I have a problem mentally, you'll be taken to the nearest doctor very fast. Or it's not something that will be given attention so much at the same time. So, but also we kind of also notice like when mental health facilities have increased, even in the city, there used to be one that was well known, Madare.
Madare, yeah.
But now a number of them, you're wondering, even in hospitals, you find there are spaces for mental health. So that means that has been one of the challenges that is facing this generation. And that's why you can see from nowhere, somebody just posting on TikTok, the girl was dancing. I think there's a video of one girl that was dancing the other day and it jumped on top of the building. So it was very sad. What was she struggling with? It's mentally, it's not something that you can see. Because physically, you can see the thing is, the guy is good, they are laughing and all that. So as much as they are the most authentic generation, authentic in the sense of they won't sugarcoat things,
yeah,
but at the same time, they are the most lost in the sense of in their own space. They are lost in their challenges, in their struggles, and the whole idea of all coming out is just creating a space where all of them, they can really find a place to connect with each other. And that's why they are clicking in groups. That is more or less like, I think, the biggest challenge they are facing. Of course, part of the challenge that I kind of mentioned, as much as technology is good, it has its own disadvantage. Excessive use of it might lead to some of the mental health situations that they were in, watching, all those videos for 7 hours, 40 minutes, and then they can do a repeat of that at night. It's crazy because they wake up in the morning looking like zombies, and that kind of captures all their minds. If they find the wrong platforms to use, they end up being filled with the wrong information. Because it can access very demonic information online in those particular spaces. So that is a huge challenge that they're kind of facing, just teaching them how to unplug and all that. And now parents, again, when you're saying in terms of different experiences, parents, they didn't grow in the experience that these guys are growing in. So the biggest challenge for parents is adapting into a technological phase of young people, knowing how to balance between the two and how they can fully engage them in that particular space, and also creating spaces for mental health conversations, and not only just mental health, but just creating safe spaces where young people will feel that it's necessary for you to come in and to have conversations with me. I loved something that was done again by One Hope. You have said this over and over again. And there's a question that was asked for young people between the age of 13 to around 17. Where would you go to if you had issues about life, faith, God, and meaning? And the number one they said they will go to is the parents.
Okay.
It's the parents. They say, we trust our parents to go and have conversations with them. But the problem is now our parents are afraid of having such kind of conversations. Even as I am right now, I've been thinking, how can I have sexual conversations with my daughter? She's only 3.
Yeah.
But I've already started preparing. But a bigger part of it also, just to add on part of the challenges, the fear also is being sponsored by ignorance or lack of information. My people perish because they lack
knowledge.
But the next verse, which we sometimes forget to read, is we have rejected. So we have a youth workers forum, and this is what we usually say when we have meetings. Parents are the number one youth workers. So be in workshops where young people are being discussed so that you know how you can mentor the people into your particular space. So it's what sort of, can you prepare? We know the milestones, some of the things that are happening. How can we fashion ourselves with information so that we know how we can prepare? And it doesn't mean that all the information is practically the information. It's just what can you build onto what you already know for you to be effective in making sure that you're taking care of the young people. And I think also that research kind of opened our eyes in the sense of even the clergy and part of the church. Part of not being irrelevant is knowing how we can equip parents to be priests in their homes and casting away those fears of and there are so many other statements that we make, and the tongue, life and death is in the tongue. Watoto wetu si kama sisi, watoto wetu. So but the more you already say that, the more it's working on your house, because you as a priest, you are activating words that you are creating into your particular space. But if you can easily speak positivity and passion yourself with information and say, I've never seen anything of this, this is new, but I'm at it. I'll have to make sure that I learn how best I can create a space for the young people to come in, because if they're open enough to say, like, I can easily go to my parent, it means that there's a shield that has been created from the parent side, where and even culturally we are not used to confrontational conversations. Is wefanya hivi, sitaki kusikia kenye umefanya na hiyo tumemaliza. But for them is when you say that, they're like, okay, nanjua umeniambia nifanye kitu, lakini kwa nini umeniambia? And that's not necessarily confrontational. It's just, if I understand, I'll do it better. But because of our culture and our past, we were not used into that space. Part of the people that were behind us, it was ukiona gari ya dad na unatafuta mlango ya nyuma ama unaenda paru, after umefungwa mlango wewe pia unaenda unakaa kwa room. But what we are looking for right now, and what is like an opportunity, is taking advantage of the technology to create a space, but at the same time also making sure that you've cast away fear and just making sure that you create space in having conversations. It's not about unidirectional right now. It's creating tables where you're always sitting and having conversations, a platform where everything can be shared. I love what our leader loves saying, because he has 2 Gen Zs in his house in Alpha. Our leader loves to say that when it comes to his home, it should be a home for everyone. For the one that is extroverted, for the one that is introvert. The one is good with music, the one is good in movies. The one is, it should be a house. So it means that how can you create a mutual space where people can fully feel their home and accommodated in that particular space, but also feel free to express who they are. They are not suppressed.
Powerful. Even as we wind up, let's talk about embracing this generation, because we are not just aiming at Gen Z, there's Generation Alpha, and there are more to come.
Yes.
How can we embrace that space? Like, generations are here. How best can we accept them and understand them?
First is understanding the thingy about generations. So knowledge again is vital. Even as we keep on making sure that we are sharpening, and that's one of the values that we have in our office. It's making sure that we give the church the best, and part of giving the best is making sure that we have the right knowledge to educate. Our Alpha Kenya is highly focused on next generational models of engaging, because the biggest generations, of course there will always be more. It's not that we are neglecting the past generations, but the people that are coming, they are so more. Bishop Owire once said, if you want to know where the church is going, speak to the young people.
Yes.
But if
leaders of tomorrow,
they are the leaders of today, actually. But if you want to know where the church came from, speak from the people of the old. So depending on what you want.
Yes.
So it's also creating that dance. So, but also that means if we know where this nation, the church, the families are going, it's always linked in to engage the next generation. What sort of some of the things? And again, let's not fall into that deception of we are the same, we are living in the same times, the experiences are the same. I think that's the thing. It's more or less of a deception. It may look very good and say hizi vitu mimi nikiwa young sikuwa nafanya hizi vitu. I don't know if somebody has ever given you advice and you are like unasema But that means as much as it might be similar, the circumstance might be similar because circumstances, the age you are in, but the times are very different. So it's just understanding what sort of times are we in and how best can we lean in. But for now, and in this space that we are in, again, a major one for us to engage and understand is to listen to them. Because listening opens up a space for them to trust us. Not listen to talk. And that's the thing. We also love that. And that's also part of something that we do in the office when you're training on small groups. When you're saying, we like how Alpha runs, it's done in small groups and all that. It's a tool for evangelism, but basically intergenerational conversations happen in that and within that particular space. Where it's an open space where people can plug in. We have different other kind of programs. So it's more of teaching people to listen. And I don't know if you read during that period when young people were also moving out, somebody said, other than, actually there's a young person that tweeted and he was like, don't talk at us. Talk to us.
Talk to us. Wow.
So we should not be at the, pana, tutaki, munafanya, munaenda, muna nini. Even if they're in a wrong space, it's a good space for us to sit down and understand, by the way, why are you where you are? Yeah. And even ending the conversation with, hey, now I understand the space that you're in. Do you know what will happen? That guy will come back again. And they'll be like, okay, so what did you think? So that's a very good, and that has been also my mantra all through. It has been, if I can reverse mentorship in the sense of, because I can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. So if I can reverse it in the sense of, it's not me following you, it's you knowing that there's something that you need and I can offer you that something, it becomes even much easier, smoother, and the space for guiding you is a particular space. But again, I can't guide you also not knowing where you are. I just can come and say, this is where you're supposed to go. No. I have to know where you want to go so that I can give you the map.
Yes.
So the first one is listening. The second one is guiding. We should be the moral compass of this generation. Again, Proverbs, is it 22? Train up a child in the way that he should go, and they'll never depart from them. That means at whatever space that they're in, they'll still always come back for advice. But that means that you have created a mutually engaging relationship for this person to trust you with all the nitty-gritties of life. As they come and they say, I'm dating so-and-so, I'm feeling like quitting, and it's 2 weeks to marriage. You are the voice of reason. You are the one that lays out all the cards, and because you've already created that space. One of the things that also we say at Alpha Kenya is, other different models of evangelism, they are more of convert and then we leave you. I think that's how also the church was perceived as being irrelevant, because the model was, after you get born again, we give a report and we don't do life with you again. That's it. We are done. And then, of course, part of the so many other things that we did, also that thing came out and say, young people are saying, you look at us as projects. After you're finished with us, as long as I've said, Father, I've received in my heart, you leave us. So if anything, and that's what I was saying, like for us, we felt, even because we incorporate all this feedback just to come up with the model that we have. So the space itself is, you're not a project, you're very important.
Yeah.
We actually say, win the person, don't win the argument. Because part of the young people, as open and authentic and confrontational they can be, it means they are very open. And sometimes that, because it's not part of our culture, can end up into an argument. And you're like, why is he coming at me like that? But all he needs to know is you can fully engage because he is fully invested in this conversation. So as you also engage and you create a space for them just to lean in and talk and speak and you listen to them, once they felt heard, we can easily now guide them.
Yes.
Because now they will always be looking for that particular space, because there are not so many spaces out there that people are being heard.
Yes.
Yeah, just hard as you are, and you're like, okay, interesting. This is so this is the marriage, this is the relationship, and even after they get married, because you also mentioned a number of couples, it's as they come back, this is the issue. So most of the easiest conversations that we have is after we have listened to them. And then you are like, okay, so you guys, what do you think what the problem is? Actually, most of them, they end up saying, I think I had made a mistake while I spoke to this guy this way. And I think also disrespected my husband when I didn't ta. And like, it's all right. Because you kind of help them and guide them as you create that space for them just to open up and pour what they're supposed to pour. So there are two things on how we can effectively engage, listen,
Inspiring, powerful.
know what they want.
Thank you for coming on board and just pouring what God has deposited in you. I can really see you have passion for young people, and that is a very beautiful thing. Continue impacting lives, continue helping young people grow. And it's good that you have enlightened anyone who is watching concerning a Gen Z. I think I even understand them better right now. That was very helpful. How can people find you in case they need you?
Yeah, so we are, I think even before that, just a parting shot, I've been thinking, actually in the morning I was reading Luke 15, I think from verse, of course we have the lost coin, and then you have the prodigal son.
Yeah.
So the prodigal son, when you're looking at these two characters, one of them was was living in his own relevant. He understood and he knew what was his, went to the father. So that's the generation we have. They're very open, authentic. They know what is theirs, but they don't know what to do with what is theirs. So that's a key one just to balance. But at the same time, I love calling that prodigal the prodigal of the two lost sons. Because even the guy that was in the house didn't know. Because when you look at, when you just read it, once this son came and asked for his inheritance, the Bible says the father divided to both. What happened is the younger son took his and went, but the older son didn't know that he had an inheritance that was already divided for him. So, and he stayed there. So it's not the endowment of the things of this generation, is the wokeness and the understanding and the kindness that we need to provide. But the beauty about this, somebody who has been constant in that particular parable was the father. So the father still created a posture that, and even when the older son came back, when the younger son came, it was like, there's no problem. You don't have to explain all the things. I'm the moral compass. You've found your way. I gave password. You've gone, you've done what you could have done. But I'm here to guide you. I've accepted you. Gave the guy a ring, closed him. A ring, reinstating his authority. So how best can we position also this generation in its authority for them to understand who they are? Because all what you have conversed about, if you noticed, it's about identity.
Identity. Yeah, too.
So if we continue assuring them of their identity in Christ and in the kingdom and in their space, it means that we are reinstating them back. So like that's what I was saying. If we just emphasize, other than fighting what they did on the street, but tell them, this is the authority. This is your identity. This is what you've been called for. And that's what we are supposed to be doing even right now, in the sense of reinstating them. And then, of course, the robe was more of honor and righteousness. We can have very honorable conversations. We don't have to look down upon them because they're in a journey of growing. They might have all that, advantages, and we can easily, like the older son, because a bigger challenge that even the young people are facing is not even that we think we are older than them, or other generations think that they're older than them. It's just what I call the jealousy of of seeing people doing what you couldn't do. Because these young guys, they're endowed with money.
Yes.
And I've been here for 40 years.
Exactly. What are you doing different?
What are you doing different? And then you also have the guts to come and advise me.
Exactly.
That's like a pride. We just need to tone down and honor and have conversations because if we grant them the honor, and they reciprocate. And even as they honor us, we honor them. Because it's not that they're all out there disrespecting all people. They're just calling facts. They've been objective in the sense of this is what's happening. We are not about people, but we are about the system. And this is what we want to, and when you look at that in all particular spaces. But the older son didn't realize that he also had an inheritance. And part of the inheritance, because once he comes to the father, he shares with the father and is like this. Once your son came, he went out and spent his inheritance with our harlots. The older son knew this person was spending the inheritance with harlots, but he didn't do anything. If anything, he would have gone out for him. And he was like, bro, what are you doing? But he was so happy. This guy is gone. This guy is lost. I'm the one who's here. Let me just wait for my father until the day. But because the father didn't have any information, and he kept that information even from the father. If the elder brother would have gone for his younger brother, because the responsibility of, or rather maturity in the faith, is understanding how to reach out to the people that are lost. So evangelism is the work of God, but it's only entrusted to people who are new creatures. I think 2 Corinthians 5:17, once you become a new creature, you've been offered the ministry of reconciliation. So the brother would have been at a very good place if he was mature, if he was a son, not a slave, but he was a son who had a slave mentality. So I think if we keep on having a slave mentality, we keep even other generations from coming into the saving grace of Christ because of our own insecurities.
Wow.
Because we felt, this guy has gone, please don't come back. I'm the heir to the whole kingdom. If anything, I think my own interpretation, the guy was just waiting for the father to die so that he would inherit everything and not even give a single thing to the brother. Because at the same time, he didn't want to bring the brother so that they can share the kingdom. But the father comes and reassures him again. Also, so all generations are safe and secure. God is the ultimate source of all these generations. We don't have to feel as if these guys are coming to take space. I loved what somebody said in our engagement recently. We are hosting an event called the Gen Z Revolution. And he said, the younger generation is coming to reinforce, not to replace. It's coming to reinforce systems. It's coming to reinforce the work that we do in church. So we're not supposed to hold to the traditional ideas that are not working, or rather they have failed, but we can give them that particular space. But at the same time, as we create a mutual intergenerational space for each and every one of us, we can also balance on how also we can share the values, because you can beat experience. We respect the elderly guys who have gone ahead of us. And it's important for us also just to sit under them and to know how best they can speak into our lives. So so you can find me Instagram at Jesus Firebrand. I think nobody is in Facebook anymore for Gen Z, but for the parents, pastors, clergy, Tipson Gome on Facebook. I think I'm also on TikTok at Jesus Firebrand. Yeah, I think all platforms Jesus Firebrand, on Twitter, not Twitter now, it's X. Yeah, and any other platform, but I think I'm in different other platforms, but just at Jesus Firebrand. That's where we get to see what we do. But at the same time, of course, I serve as Alpha Kenya again. We train and equip pastors, senior clergy, youth pastors, youth leaders on how best to create a safe space for people to explore the basics of the Christian faith. It's a training we do all around Kenya. You can also find us at Alpha Kenya. That is a good space where we can easily have conversations in and see how best we can serve one another and share the information that God has given us, just to make sure that things are happening. It's been real.
It's been real. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Gen Z, oh yeah. To any Gen Z who is watching, we love you, we celebrate you. You're here for a reason. And I've picked that identity is very important.
Very important.
And they need to know their identity,
Yeah.
who they are and whose they are. Until next time, bye.